Hi, I'm Bruce Moore from the East Longmeadow Historical Commission. We're standing in front of our historical museum at 87 Maple Street here, and we'd like to invite you inside to take a tour of some of our memorabilia from East Longmeadow. This hitching post you're looking at came from the old Crane House, which was in front of where Rocky's store is now located. And coming up the steps over here are a couple of pieces of brownstone from the old community feed store. And on top of the porch is the old bench from the railroad depot over near where community feed was located. The home where the museum is located now was built circa 1856 and located where the Crane House was, where Rocky's is currently located. It was moved around 1860 over to 25 Maple Street where Walgreens is, and a stonecutter named John Peasley lived there for quite some time. The last family to own it was the Radamski family, and they sold it to East Longmeadow in 1970. It became the Historical Commission home. It was moved up here in 2004 to make room for the new development at the center. This first display case on the right is all Native American artifacts from East Longmeadow. You've got a full grooved axe, a celt, and different points from town. And this one is of note interest because it's made of flint, which is from New York, that the natives traded for. So they had quite an extensive route that they did in their travels. These other points down here were donated by Billy Turnberg. They're found down at Southbrook Estates in East Longmeadow. And these are some more that I found, and my wife found that when she was a little girl, down near Southbrook. And these are Indian axes, and it's called a muller. It's got grooves on the side and on the end that would be used for cracking chestnuts, acorns, etc. These are all from East Longmeadow here, and that was the improved order of red men, the Watchog tribe from East Longmeadow, that was in existence around the turn of the century.
That was a fraternal organization.
And over here on the floor we have an Indian mortar that was used to grind acorns and corn, and that was given by Ronnie Goldstein. And this stone is local brownstone, which is very soft, so I would imagine the local Indians ingested quite a bit of this material into their diet. Yeah. This is an old, I think this is an Indian head. This was done quite a while ago from local stone by an unknown carver, but we think it looks like a Native American. And while we are on the brownstone, that is what our town is famous for. There's three shades of stone in town: the Maynard Quarry, which was up behind Graziano Gardens, the Kibbe Quarry, which is on Kibbe Road near John Romito's house, and the Worcester Quarry, which is next to the police station, which is now filled with water. And it's interesting that these three shades of stone were all found within a 1 mile radius of each other in town. And the beds are quite deep on these, so there was quite a bit of deposits going on at the time. They're all sedimentary stones. Some of the earlier workers that came to town were Swedish. They came up from Portland, Connecticut. This is an all Swedish crew here. This is taken at the Billings Quarry across from the police station that's filled with water now. This would be the foreman, Algot Carlson here. He was a master at cracking, putting just the right amount of black powder in the holes that were bored and cracking the stone. These are the actual blocks that came out, so you can see he was very adept at what he did. This is another picture of the quarrymen and the tools of their trade here. And you can see they all have a variety of jobs. Some have pickaxes for starting holes and scabbling off the ends of the stone when they came out. They kind of squared them up a little bit when they came out, took off the debris and stuff like that. But you had all kind of, this is a very large gang at this particular quarry. We're not sure where it was. And if you see these bars that they're holding, this is one that I found at Pine Quarry in one of the caves out there. It's probably about, it's 17 pounds actually. And this is an 11-pound sledgehammer that Bill O'Shaughnessy found out there at the quarry. And this cable came from Pine Quarry. It would have been used on one of the big derricks. Over here is a picture of one of the derricks. This is the mast and the boom, and they had cables holding them up. And the mast would be raised and lowered by steam power. It used to be they could hand raise and lower it or use a drum with a horse walking around it. And after they mined the stone out of the ground, this is a famous picture, it's on the town seal. This is George Patrick up at where the current DPW is now. He's on his team of oxen with the stone in the Taylor Quarry Yard. And this ox yoke in the background came from that area and was generously donated by Mr. and Mrs. Robert Turnberg in town. These are some of the tools that the men used at the shop. Oh, let me back up. This is one of the shops here, right where the DPW is now. This is you can see all the different sheds here, and the doors go up and down. So, you know, in the winter they could keep the weather out, but they're all working on making various stone design pieces like you see in front here. And these would be some of the tools of the trade that they'd use. I collected these for years, and they're all signed by the names of these people that you see underneath. There are quite a few famous names in town. Leon Cooley, the Kibbies, the Whites, Beebe's. And the stone cutters, in using these tools, they used a wooden mallet like this. You can see how worn it is on each side. And the stone was soft coming out of the ground, and they would tap it like that. And they used wood instead of steel, so it wouldn't, if you look at the back of some of these, they're all peened over because somebody used metal on it, and it's a dangerous thing to do. But these are over 100 years old, and they're still in perfect, pristine shape. Some of the other tools they used were these crandling hammers, which seem a little bizarre looking at them, but if you notice, there's a wedge here that holds these series of teeth in place, and they're all in a line on one end, and they would use that to top dress the stones. It puts little marks on the stones, especially for sidewalks and stuff like that. The stone gets very slick in the winter, so they top dress the stones to give them a little rougher surface. This is a sample of some of the fancy carving done by the Norcross brothers men. This is the memorial mantle in the Ames Library in Easton, Mass. It was designed by St. Gaudens, I believe. It's still there, you can go visit it. And then this is a mantle in the Billings Library in Burlington, Vermont. All done with local stone. It's just masterfully done. And there's plenty of buildings. I think this is the old post office downtown that was done entirely of brownstone. The first 5 floors of the Waldorf Astoria are East Longmeadow brownstone. And there are a multitude of buildings done with the stone from town. The Trinity Church in Boston, the Waldorf Astoria, the first 5 floors. This is a wonderful photo taken in 1959 of many, many people swimming up at Redstone Lake up behind Graziano Gardens. After the quarries were done being used, they filled up with water and were popular swimming holes for many, many years. The Lindners owned this from the 40s, and they still presently own it. And they had the Redstone swimming school there, and it was just used for years and years by many, many people in town. I'm sure there's a lot of fond memories of that. These are blow-up photos of a couple of postcards that the Norcross brothers had taken of the quarry next to the police station that's now filled with water, where Brownstone Gardens is. This just shows the quarry in operation with there's 4 derricks working, there's 3 here. This tall pipe is from the steam engine house that powered the derricks. This is the famous pier out at Pine Quarry. This was all man-made with stone that they didn't use out there, and there was a big derrick located on top of that. The pins are still there now. You can see them if you go out. There's another derrick located down lower that got the stone from way down in the quarry and brought it up to a landing around here, and then this derrick lifted that stone onto the ox carts, and they went out through the trails at Pine Quarry. We still offer tours of this quarry site. It's still as pristine as when they left it. And if you'd like to have a tour, just please contact the Historical Commission. We'd be glad to arrange it. This is a picture of the Methodist church that used to be on the corner of Elm Street, where the operating engineer's sign is right now. And here is the demise of the Methodist church that is now moved up to the corner of Chestnut and Route 83. The clocks used to be way up top on the tower, and now they're on this building in the middle here in a smaller version. There was 4 originally donated by the Rintools, and they put 3 that are working now and saved the 4th set for parts. This is William Wegman, a fairly famous person from town here, and his Weimaraners. He's very noted for dressing up his dogs in different outfits, and he's made quite a successful living, but he grew up right in East Longmeadow. And I don't know if you can see this, that's the Bragas, Doug and Dave Braga. They're very successful twin artists from town. One paints in oil and one paints in water. This is one of our postcards that's for sale here. It's actually in Ripley's Believe It or Not. It shows the 7 streets in the intersection at the Rotary with no traffic lights, believed to be the only one in the United States with that many roads coming together. Okay. This is a photo of the Fenway Farm Dairy located on Allen and Porter Road. This photograph was taken in 1937 and was part of a 70-acre farm owned by the Fisk family. It's still operated as a golf course, a driving range, batting cages, etc. But it was a successful dairy at one time. This is a photo of George and William Majory. George is the smaller, younger of the 2. He was 11 and his brother was 15, and they served in the Civil War in the Fife and Drum Corps and were involved in many, many battles in the Civil War, Antietam, Petersburg, Cold Harbor, Bull Run, and somehow survived all of that. And George lived in this house for more than 30 years and died in 1932 as the last surviving Civil War veteran in East Longmeadow. When the parade used to come by the house, when it was down where Walgreens is, he used to get a standing ovation every year when they passed by his house. This is some more of our displays honoring the men and women who served our country from town. This is the Roll of Honor from World War I that was located in the front of the town hall, taken down when the Rotary was reconstructed and never to be seen again. And this is one of our newest displays of the men that were killed in Vietnam from East Longmeadow. This is a grave rubbing of one of the gentlemen, Gerald Latender. We're always looking for more memorabilia from East Longmeadow, quarry-related photos from town, anything of that nature. We'd be more than happy to have it on loan, or if you'd like to donate it, that would be greatly appreciated. In this room, we have our transportation display. We have the old train depot here. It was a passenger and a freight line. This is an actual, well, it's a postcard, but they made it. I had it enlarged, and it shows people getting ready to board the train. And we're hoping the rail trail gets built soon so we can keep the depot there. And these are pictures of the trolleys that came through town. The last one came through in 1939 and was replaced by buses. You had electric-powered trolleys that burn no fossil fuel, replaced by buses that are quite the polluters. This was a model of the depot made by Roger Leaguer that's very painstakingly put together and proudly on display here. There's a couple of locks donated by the Rintoul family from the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad. This is the East Longmeadow grain store located where Dunkin' Donuts is now. You're looking at Joe Cady and Dean Clark, who operated the store for many years. All right, these photos are from the Coolies from East Longmeadow. This is Leon Cooley, who was a stone cutter in town and ran the general store and many other functions in town. And this is his son, Clarence Cooley, who authored a book, Things I Remember About East Longmeadow, that sold, I think, 800 copies. And where Sticks and Stones is now, that was Nooney's Hardware, but it was also Cooley's store. It was a general store for many, many years, and there was always a barber shop upstairs. The stairs are still there, but I'm not sure that they're using the upstairs for anything right now. This is our newest display here. It's a baseball uniform worn by Art Anderson in the 1940s. It's the Elms baseball team. It was donated by his daughter, Joan Earnshaw. We're looking for a hat to go with it if anyone has an old wool hat that says Elms on it. This is the earliest photo we have of the Rotary in East Longmeadow, taken circa 1890. This is the Congregational Church, and this is the old watering trough in the middle of the Rotary where the horses could come. And you could come from any direction at this time. There was no Rotary in the middle. This is the corner of the Methodist Church and the old tavern on the corner where the Pride gas station is now. Everything's been removed in this photo, on this side, excuse me, and the Congo church is still there. This is the Crane House located where Rocky's Hardware is now. The house was torn down in 1949 to build Popular Market, which has been remodeled into Rocky's. This is our little school area here. This was the first graduating class from East Longmeadow High School, 1895. And Grace Lavalette is in here, and one of the Norcross children is in here also. This is the Little Red Schoolhouse being moved up to where the center school used to be, where the quarryman statue is. That was in 1994. That's a photo here of the old center school, a remodeled photo. Here is an old lunch pail around 1900. I think the children would have a hard time bringing this to school today. And this is an old copper inkwell filler found at center school when they were tearing it down back in the days when you had different writing utensils. This is a famous photo of the Hun block taken around 1889. It's torn down, and this end here is where Boston Market is now. There's a new building in there now. It started out as a bank. But this was the hub of activity at that time. There was a meat market at one end, a post office, and a store, and all the people used to come in town with their wagons and load up on their goodies. This is a wonderful fall photo of the Rotary taken in 1997 by Dr. Rasico. This big maple tree in the center on the congregational lawn is gone. It came down right after that photo was taken in a storm. But even in this photo, there's quite a bit that's changed in the Rotary, even since that time. It's just a wonderful photo. Though this is a photo of Albert Denslow, father of Ray Denslow, who was a clerk in town. They had a house on the corner of Shaker and Denslow Road, which was torn down. And they actually donated much of the furniture that's in this building here. This is an altar rail from St. Michael's Church that was built in 1887. This is an actual photo of the rail and the Hammonds being married. And Father Wallahan gave them a piece of the rail when they tore the church down, and they donated it to the museum. This is a peculiar item that you might wonder what it is, but before hearing aids came out, this is what they did. What's that, Sonny? If they had a hard time hearing someone, they would put that up to their ear. And
That's an ear trumpet, is that what that was called?
This is the old outhouse key from center school. You actually needed a key to go outside to visit the outhouse at the school. And we were fortunate to get that donated to us by the Christensen family. Here's a little display from Leo Glynn, who served as our postmaster. He was a lawyer in town, and his little building was located near where the library is now. There's Glynn Farms is named after his family.
Do that one again.
All right, here's a 1950 poster of the Goofus Club of New England at Pleasant View School. Kind of an odd name for your club, but it worked at the time. And an advertisement for a big lawn party given by Mrs. Alice Taylor. featuring ice cream, lemonade, and bananas. These are called daguerreotype photos. Most we're not sure who they are, but this is Harry Pease from East Longmeadow. This is an old 48-star flag used at Center School. This is an old trundle bed that was used by Superintendent of School Frederick Wheeler and donated by Claire Camp. I think these slats wouldn't be legal today. There's quite a space in between. And this is the old potty chair that children would use. And on this bed here there are a variety of different quilts made. They're all handmade, and some of these are signature quilts. It's really hard to see them, but they were done by the Methodist Church in 1868. You'll see different signatures, and it was very time-consuming. This is a chestnut rocking chair made entirely of American chestnut wood, given by Verna Johnson. And there's no longer any chestnut trees due to the blight, so this is actually a rare piece. This is our Victorian room in here. We have mannequins displaying many of the outfits from the late 1800s. Some of the shoes are incredibly tiny to my eyes, and I would imagine the ladies had quite a time trying to get into those. These are some of the fancy hats that they wore on Sunday. I don't know if the ladies today would be too thrilled with wearing them, but they were the high fashion of the day. This particular bonnet down here is very heavy, and people came from Utah to East Longmeadow in 1892, and this is the bonnet she wore on the wagon. These would be some of the fine accessories that ladies would wear, your hair pieces and your fancy gloves. And this is a flower arrangement made of flamingo and parrot feathers, which unfortunately they used to kill quite a few birds just for their feathers. This is a photo of some of the fancy outfits worn in the 1850s by the children of the day. I can't really imagine the children playing outside in those type of outfits, but nonetheless, there they are. To enter the kitchen, which was renovated in 1989 from funds from the Clarence Cooley Fund. So let me take you over here. Down here we have an old wringer washer that was a gift from the McKnight family. And this was the type of washing machine the ladies would use prior to the electric washer. You'd put your wet laundry through the back and crank it and get the water out and then hang it outside on your solar dryer. So we can be thankful for the modern conveniences we have today. This is an old slate sink from Maine. It's not original to this house, but it is a wonderful old sink. Up here is an ingenious egg box made by Frank and Winslow Champlin to hold your eggs that were going to be delivered. I'm going to bring it over and put it over here and show you the inside of it. They have these neat spring-loaded wires holding these cotton pieces here, and your eggs would fit on either side of that, and as you can see it's kind of springy, so when the box was closed you had a neat little container
It's pretty big.
that would keep your eggs intact. All right, over here we have a bunch of old milk bottles from East Longmeadow. There was 3 dairies on Prospect Street. The Moss Rose Dairy, the Wachusett Dairy, and the Winnipowen Farm. Now, here is a bottle from the Wachusett Dairy that was run by Harry Fisk, a Fisk Rubber Company. That was at 440 Prospect Street, right beyond the Greek church. He had the first mansion built in town. He had over 200 acres of land there, including where the Greek church is. And there was an old Indian trail that ran through his property called the Wachusett Trail, and an old historian, Harry Wright, suggested that he name his farm after that trail, so he did. And this is the Hanks brothers. It was the Winnipowen Farm before Hanks brothers bought it, and they renamed it Hanks Brothers Winnipowen Farm. This is one of their bottles, and this is one of the original Winnipowen farms. Winnipowen was one of the signers of the deed when Pynchon bought Longmeadow, Chicopee, Agawam, and that surrounding area for a few knives, some blankets, and a few trinkets. And there's also 2 other Indian names, at least in town, the Pecauzic Brook and the Watchog Brook. So there's still quite a flavorful Indian heritage in this town. These are a couple of old apple peelers here that were pretty cool. They're very ingenious. I'm not going to pick one up to demonstrate it at this point. And this would be where the ladies did some of their ironing here. This is an old charcoal iron. It's very heavy. You'd put your charcoal in here to heat up the iron, and then you could empty it out the back here. But I'd say this weighs a good 5 or 6 pounds without anything in it, and it was quite an arduous task to. This would be one of the things you might iron, one of your old bonnets or hats that the ladies would wear. I don't see the ladies today wearing something like this, but. And this is an old cast iron stove from the Denslow estate, which was located down near where Milton Bradley is. That's been refurbished with some of the Cooley funds, and there's different things on the stove you might use normally in your everyday. That is for weighing eggs. Medium, large, and extra large. Apparently they went by the weight back then. These would be some of your kitchen utensils that you'd use way back when. And this little box here is some wooden kitchen utensils given by Edith Burt Bigelow that children would have used before plastic or glass was pretty popular. There's a rolling pins and different cups and saucers, etc. And over here is an old, beautiful oak clock from the Baptist Village School, which was located what is now Meadowbrook Road, which used to be Summers Road, or 83, which was reconstructed in the 50s, and they changed it to Meadowbrook Road. But the school closed down in the 20s, and that was donated to the museum. Over here is a beautiful old ice box that they used prior to having electric. You'd put ice and, you know, the iceman would come and deliver your ice and you'd keep your stuff cool that way. This was donated by the McKnight family. And lastly, there's just a couple old postcards here from early 1900 that says, you know, hello, this is East Longmeadow, Mass. They were just cute little postcards that have been enlarged. There's over 60 postcards from East Longmeadow, so that's quite a art in collecting all those different ones. Well, this pretty much concludes our tour of the museum. We're open the third Saturday of each month from 1 to 3, and we sure hope you'll come down and visit us. And there's plenty more to be seen that wasn't shown on this video. Thank you.